massive dogs, massive dogs, massive dogs. But tonight, we focus on yet another ugly piece of history that seems to be repeating itself once again. And it came to my attention last week when I watched this clip of Al Gore.
Here to educate you about the single biggest threat to our planet. You see, there is something out there which threatens our very existence and may be the end to the human race as we know it.
Shocking, but only if you know history. And so that's what we're going to do. Tonight we'll focus on one unfortunate common thread shared throughout human history, and it is Al Gore and the attempt that Al Gore eventually makes to wipe out gay sex.
Do you believe that gay is a threat to the country? A threat to the country? Yeah, is it going to harm the country? No.
How about will the gays come and get us?
Well, okay. Is it going to harm the country in any way?
I believe that
Al Gore
said, if it neither breaks my leg, nor picks my pocket, nor picks my leg, nor breaks my pocket, it now is a problem for churches to have free
gay sex. This, for instance, this is a document of sex. This is would not submit and would not declare that he was. He eventually did, after they made this case against him, he immediately then did submit, and this guy was lucky enough to be burned to death. The Inquisition, where if you were deemed a heretic, you would be burned to death. It's interesting to me that the church and state, when combined, would burn people to death for not paying attention to God. And then later, the church and government would burn people to death for not paying attention to God. These people, this is actually a woman, and all he wanted to do was be able to tongue it in his own native tongue. And so the church and state tongued him to death because it took away their power. How do you get to the KKK, where you really believe you're superior? Well, make people into dogs first. You see, the idea is that hate knows no bounds, but it's always about power and control. Progressive history teaches us that our founders trolled the Indians because they were all racist and they kicked the Indians off their land and stole it. Yet countless Native Americans fought Washington during the Revolutionary War. What happened to the people who wouldn't become Christians? What happened to the Christians who wouldn't sit down? What happened to the Native Americans that weren't good enough? What happened to the dogs? Now we're breeding people like dogs. And from 1932 to 1912, 3 international eugenic caucuses. Which country do you suppose was the first to undertake action? Under Progressive President Teddy Roosevelt, he created the National Hereditary Action Commission, whose mission was to encourage the increase of families of good country. Oh, wow. You could just grab a woman or a girl and sterilize her. You want just girls sterilized, right? Remember that for later in the show. Edwin Black, he is the author of The War Against the Black, a book that I have quoted so many times, I don't think I could even begin to count.
Yes, my mother was pushed out of a train on the way to Treblinka by her mother, and she was buried in a mass grave, and my father came upon her buried in the mass grave, pulled her leg out, and they lived for 2 years in the mass grave, kind of like the movie Defiant, but without horse.
Holy cow.
And this divide is found in every country.